Hello my friends and welcome. We have some interesting news today. Witkoff and Kushner went to Moscow for a Nothing Burger meeting. Yes, and now we witnessed the end of this 28-point peace plan. At the same time, Putin threatens Europe with direct military escalation. The Russian oil shuttle fleet lost one more tanker in the Black Sea. And of course, the front lines updates, so we have some good news and bad news as usual every day from what is happening on the ground. Everything of that and not only I'm gonna tell in this video. And let's go one by one. For example, let's start from Putin. Before the meeting with Witkoff and Kushner, Putin was kind of busy. He forced the American delegation to wait for 3 hours. And Putin used this time to get his own comments about the war in Ukraine and relations with Europe. Let's listen to this one. We are not planning to fight with Europe. I've said this 100 times already. Let me just scroll. But if Europe suddenly decides it wants to fight us and starts the war, we are ready right now. And you understand that Europe is not threatening Russia. It is Russia that possesses the threat and instability in European region. Yeah, what an ugly face. Oh my God. So Putin definitely, he threatens Europe. He also says that Europe, those are the warmongers and they want to mess up with the deal between United States and Russia around Ukraine. It's nonsense, but we have it. The same day with the American delegation meeting, there was also the visit of the foreign minister of China, Wang Yi, to Moscow, and here he is with Shoigu. Shoigu, where is the munition? Munition is coming from China, from North Korea. But the meeting itself, you see, yeah, it was there was Putin, Witkoff, Kushner, and Ushakov, Dmitriev over here. Witkoff and Kushner waited for a very long time, and the meeting itself also took like 5 hours. So they were in Kremlin for at least 8 hours. This is crazy. And the meeting itself, it ended with absolutely nothing. For Russia, it's not acceptable that Ukraine will keep control over Donbass. For Russia, it is not acceptable that Ukraine will not lower its army. And basically, Russian officials stated that they support peace agreement, some negotiations, which will lead to reaching of the goals of the special military operation. So basically, nothing changed. Since the February 24, 2022, Russia doesn't want to make any sort of the concessions. Moreover, according to insights and information already published in legacy media, Putin again told about history, that Ukraine is just this fake state, that Ukrainians are Russians and Ukrainians were fighting for Russians in the war against Swedes. He reminded the great Poltava battle that was led by Russian Tsar Peter I against Karl VII, the king of Sweden, and mighty Russia. Ukraine is Russia. That's it. The same bullshit we heard from Tucker Carlson interview. Putin gave him history lecture, so it's understandable that 5 hours probably were dedicated for that as well. Well, at least the great part of 5 hours. Well, for Witkoff, it's nothing new. He just accepts what Russia is saying, and this is his picture during his meeting with the Ukrainian delegation in Florida, Miami, and this is his picture while he met President Putin. Cheerful, shaved, and shining. He accepts any sort of the story, so Russian delegation officials, they say that there is no compromise reached, there is no any deal reached, and Ushakov, the main Putin's advisor, say that we're gonna communicate with those people. He named Witkoff and Kushner those people, those Americans, you know. That's it. They agreed to negotiate about negotiations, even though Russian delegations say that all of the communication is now top secret. We know how they use WhatsApp and leak everything to Wall Street Journal. But yeah, it was understandable from the very freaking beginning that it's nothing burger. Absolutely. Russia doesn't want to stop. Russia doesn't want to agree on terms, any sort of the terms. And the goal is just to fool the administration of the White House that they're willing to achieve some sort of the peace, but only on Russian demands. And White House, as we see, is pushing not Russia, but Ukraine for some sort of the deal, which is nonsense to push a victim, you know, but it is happening. Well, anyways, Ukraine continued to receive receive at least military support from Europe via Pearl program, where European partners that are purchasing some of the weapons from the United States crucially needed, like, for example, Patriot missiles, especially for Ukrainian air defense, PAC-3 missiles. It's the only tool capable to shut down Russian ballistics, unfortunately. Well, that's the only positivity, I guess. Excursion for Witkow and Kushner around Moscow. How beautiful Moscow is, really. They're gonna celebrate New Year very soon, and they took American delegation somewhere. Yeah, all of those are guards and protection. They just did it for this PR movie. Those people around, they're not real people, not average people. There were the plans also for American delegation to visit some of the European country to meet with Zelensky. It could be Ireland, but they canceled this meeting completely, and Zelensky is flying now to Ukraine, and Kushner and Witkow, they're going to United States of America. Well, guys, what can I say? We all waited for it to happen, like this nothing burger to finally be open and shown everything from inside, that it's about nothing. You cannot negotiate with Russia if Russia wants to continue this war. You cannot make business with an aggressor country. Awarding aggressor with new territories, with complying to demands, it never helps. Never ever. And if we check out the history, read some books, which Donald Trump doesn't read, of course, there are pretty much vivid parallels with the start of the Second World War, and now there is a direct threat from Putin, who threatens Europe not just with possible military escalation, but he also stated that in Ukraine, Russia acts very precisely in a surgical manner. But for Europe, we're going to use our mighty force, and there will be no one to negotiate with. Here is the hint for using a big red button, so nuclear weaponry. At the same time, Marco Rubio also turns delusional. He says that the war is now ongoing for 30 kilometers of the land. No, the war is ongoing for Russia to be empire or not, to restore Soviet Union or not, to get its influence out there to Europe, even to Eastern Europe, to all of those countries of the Soviet bloc or not. That is what Putin wants to achieve, not Donbass. Donbass he doesn't need. Russia is a big country. It doesn't need like 300 square kilometers more for its prosperity. It wasn't the goal of the special military operation. Just listen to Putin. Oh my God, those officials in the United States, they're so delusional. Like Marco Rubio, he's the most sane of the Trump's team, but still he's delusional compared to what it should be. To understanding what is happening, he also said that America cannot help Ukraine forever with weapons. America is not helping Ukraine with weapons, only selling it for its own profit. That's the purpose of every country which is producing weapons, to sell it for profit. That is what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump just yesterday stated himself that they're not financing this war any longer. They're making profit. Yes. So what are you complaining about, Rubio? Come on. They want to show that they have some of the lever to act on Ukraine, but no. It's absent, almost absent. For Ukraine and for Russia, America is tasteless, useless with its ruined foreign policy, absolutely. And I understand that we review just this aspect, on this channel, about Ukraine, about Russia, but the chaos in this management of the United States, it's not just over there, it's within America itself, because those guys, they're not competent at all. And if Rubio knows something, he absolutely doesn't have the option to introduce it into real life, because guys like Witkow, Kushner, they're doing behind-the-curtain policy, bypassing the Secretary of State and all of the other departments, including departments of intelligence. So it's just a business plan which they want to implement, and Ukraine is a big obstacle for this Donald Trump's team. This article is hilarious. NATO believes that Putin will not start a war with Europe, and they have an explanation why. Some sort of the anonymous source of the high military command of NATO told to journalists that they think that Putin is bluffing. So why do you reform your army then, if Putin is bluffing, if everything is okay? No, I say that Russia will attack. It's almost imminent for Russia to attack Europe. And even Marco Rutte said about it himself, the Secretary of NATO, that Russia and China may start this escalation simultaneously to caught NATO off guard. So Russia will start its operation in Taiwan and Russia may start its operation in Baltics. Putin may say that he is ready for war, but then Putin says something it often turns not to be true. And in any case, I do not believe that Vladimir Putin is ready for war in Europe. Some of the officials say it doesn't mean that NATO is not getting ready, but you understand the mood in NATO, that some of them are still sleeping. Involving those in higher rank military command of NATO, they do not believe that Russia may attack Europe. Well, soon you will believe, very soon. He's not ready, but I'm not saying that Russia does not produce enough military equipment. I'm not saying that Russia does not have the military capability and economic base for such a campaign. So yes, they have everything of that actually. And the record military budget of Russia for the next year clearly states that it may not just be Ukraine. And this is, of course, doesn't mean that Russia does not have the desire to change the security architecture of Europe. That's how they call a war, change the security architecture of Europe. Okay, the reason is that it knows that NATO will defend itself and also that even having the capability to fight, it is not capable of winning, the alliance representative said. Okay. Then just 1 week ago, they said that NATO is not ready to react on the possible Russian intervention, that the deployment of the forces might take 30 up to 40 days. And they're working now to minimize this time to 3, maximum 5 days, because the infrastructure is absolutely absent for the large-scale supplies deliveries, and it might take even years to boost this infrastructure, to rebuild it. Yeah, who is not ready and who is ready? For me, it's pretty much evident, and Russia started to boost its military logistics at the border with NATO, together with Belarus, by the way. The work from the Russian side is ongoing full-scale already for extensive period of time. They also build their military bases at the border with Finland and so on. So Russia is not waiting. And about NATO, I don't see that it's very united to achieve some common decision solution to boost its military. The countries like Hungary, they're even against everything of that. Orban says that Europe and NATO are escalating. It's very dangerous because Putin may attack in this case, It's better for us to step down and not to boost our armies. Yeah, just to conclude for today about those peace negotiations, I'm still waiting for at least some sort of the tweet on Truth Social from Donald Trump, because he hasn't commented on that yet. All of the information about this is coming mainly from legacy media or from a Russian delegation. Those guys, they put their tongues into where. So it's never-ending story with Trump, those attempts, stupid ones, like childish, absolutely crazy behavior, not understanding what is happening, playing with an aggressor state, lowering its reputation or canceling it completely. The United States of America has never been that low if you speak about political life in the modern history, I guess. That is what they comment, those stupid idiots like Hexet. It would be good if Putin, Trump and Zelensky met for dinner. Let's see what comes of it. It would be a dinner of peace. Like, what the shit is... Guys, this is totally unhinged, especially then we know, at our level, what is actually happening and what will happen. But they do not understand what is happening. Those people who live in their personal bubble out there ruling the United States of America. Well, yeah, it's very pity to witness all of that decline. And before we continue with the frontline updates, my friends, you may support my job because it is only possible because of your support. You may check out my Patreon in the video description right below or press join button for membership. Thank you so much for it. Yeah, obviously if you have this opportunity. If not, that's okay. Also, please press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel. This is very important to propel the video in YouTube algorithms, especially when you watch this video. Just subscribe, like, and this video will be shown for many more other people. That's the goal of every YouTuber, to be more viewed. That's what I want to achieve with my channel. Thank you guys for it. Let's continue. And now let's go to the awesome news coming from the front lines. Our warriors from the 1st Azov Corps went on a counteroffensive operation in Liman direction, and they got control over several of the settlements. This village is called Novoselivka. There was a direct fight with the Russians, and some of them were imprisoned by Ukrainian soldiers. Awesome. For example, this guy decided to surrender. And also this Russian guy was taken as a prisoner of war. Later on will be exchanged. Nice. Just want to show you where it happened. So actually 2 of the villages, one Stavki, there was the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and also one more village, Novoselivka, exactly the one I showed you. I would say absolutely great news, especially for Liman, because supplies mainly were cut by Russians, and keeping Novoselivka under control, it's very, very important because there are multiple of the roads going to Liman. The main bridges over here, they do not exist to supply Liman as before, so for Ukraine it's kind of difficult task to defend Liman. As well as this entire pocket, nevertheless, I am quite shocked that Ukraine is successful in counterattack in this exact direction. I expect just Russia to have constant advantage here, but sometimes miracles, they happen. And also Russia continue even to lose their vehicles behind the front lines. I wonder what is that? Well, it's the compilation of the 1st Azov Corps, and this is the Russian BMP-1, the first model, not very capable, but Russia put some of the drone protection. In this case, it didn't help. So as we see, Russians sometimes they're using even vehicles for their assault operations even now, and also they try to go from Poltavka, they try to go somewhere, maybe to Shakhova, but look how far away they were just demolished. 3 of the vehicles, oh my god, let me check. Yeah, definitely we have the confirmation, some of the movement of the Russian army, and I see how the drone, is it a machine vision? Then drone recognizes what is happening. And it doesn't matter if the vehicle has some sort of the electronic warfare against drones, it will still be hit no matter what. The operator just aims where to fly, and drone flies. Well, it's not that precise as operator would maneuver to hit exactly particular spot. Here's just the object, but probably it is the new era of development of machine vision. Some people call it an artificial intelligence, but it's not. For now, it's just the machine vision, the same as in DJI drones. And here is something, yeah, BMP-1 also could be, maybe BMP-2. And what is this? The engineering vehicle. Again, you see the symbol of the 1st Azov Corps. They perform this sort of the mission, putting even engineering vehicles. Interesting. Well, more vehicle losses to the same Druzhba direction, where Russia 1 month ago lost 74 of the vehicles, at least. What is this? One more in Boykivka. This one I already showed you before, yeah, like 3 days ago. Right, about the situation in Pokrovsk direction itself, Russia had some of the territorial gains for the last 24 hours. Let me check Deep State military map for the latest update. Yeah, I see that Russia moved a little bit in Pokrovsk itself and also in Promen. So it was yesterday and it is today. Light advancement, and Ukraine still keeps its control over the part of Mirnograd. About this particular bottleneck that could be used for evacuation of the Ukrainian forces, let me show you one picture that was shared by Deep State. Well, this is the very precise map where the positions of the Russian forces or Ukrainian forces were spotted for the last couple of weeks. You see that everything is mixed. Both of the sides, they operate with small groups of infantry forces, so it's definitely hard to tell who controls what, especially behind this railroad. Russians established the main control over the southern part of Pokrovsk, but for this northern area, this entire place is the gray zone, which is actually not that bad for Ukraine. After all, it could be way more worse. The fight for Pokrovsk continues for already, I guess, more than a month, in the city itself. Not the city, after all, it's small, but if we take Mirnograd here, you may call it like the city already for the size. So yeah, just to show you the real situation, then you see Russian maps, they closed this gap over here. No, it's not happening like that. Yeah, Russian small groups are spotted somewhere, but as well as Ukrainian groups sometimes even in the city center. What I don't like, that there are sometimes even fake spread from Ukrainian side too. That's very bad, and it hits the trust for Ukraine in general. So 225th Brigade Skela, They posted this video showing Ukrainian flag in the center of Pokrovsk, telling that no, this video is not the Russian one, this is a Ukrainian video, those are our guys in the center of Pokrovsk, but no, those are Russians really. No, it's not the real, and you may check the road sign, it's clearly something terrible made by AI. And here's the real road sign, so it's understandable that those are the Russian soldiers with the Russian flag. So I'm very disappointed that this fake information is spread by brigade itself, like before the 33rd Brigade, actually very capable guys. They spread also disinformation on their channels, showing the Ukrainian operation in Pokrovsk. Then in fact it was the old video from Kursk operation 1 year ago. So very strange stuff happening, and I have to cross-check the information coming from, unfortunately, both of the sides. They both spread fakes. And our Aussians, our volunteer community, they don't support those fakes at all. This is not serving for the good purpose. This spreads the mistrust into Ukrainian army and what Ukrainian officials are stating there. Is it coming from Syrskyi? I mean, those kind of the anti-Chris videos? Maybe. But my goal on this channel is to tell the situation as it is, because only truth matters. And here's the new video of Russians placing their flag in Pokrovsk. That's the most fresh one. They just went to the roof, showing and waving their flag, definitely confirming the presence of the Russian armed forces in the central area. What is interesting about this video, that the weather was pretty much okay. Probably our drone operators didn't have enough time to react on their appearance, because it happened very quickly, again made for propaganda. Usually Russians spend the time in the basements. And guys, again, I don't trust official sources, whether it's from Ukraine or from Russia. For example, this was shared today by Ukraine, saying about the situation in Donetsk region, Pokrovsk, Mirnograd. Well, the situation in Pokrovsk, as you might say, it's not even close to what it is happening at the battlefield. I would say maybe 1 month ago or maybe 1.5 it was like that, but no, Russians are here in Pokrovsk. They advanced also towards Mirnograd and from the south here. This is absolutely unreal picture that was shared by Ukrainian military command, and Russians show more red territories, it's obvious. For this reason, I do not believe in official disinformation, you may call it, because propaganda, it is coming from both of the sides. So with that flag, Russians showed their presence in Pokrovsk, definitely, but again, they're hiding all of the time in the basements and just went to the central part to show their flag. Because of the very bad weather, they managed to record this video for PR, for propaganda purposes, that's it. But why Skela decided to put Ukrainian flag there and presented it as some sort of the antichrist, this is so miserable, so miserable. Alright, let's go to another spot. It's Konstantinovka. There Russia also moved quite a little. I mean, like that for the last 24 hours. Let's zoom in. Before and today. Yeah, Ukraine still has this defense line, but the fight for it will start very soon. So Russia wants to somehow achieve 2-vector attack on Konstantinovka. For now, they have just a single one. It is coming from the southeast and they already entered the settlement, but they cannot propel deep into this city. And the good news are coming from Hulaypole. The news are that Russians are not yet in this settlement and there are no any changes in this part of the frontline direction for the last 24 hours. And I just hope that Ukraine will be able to defend Hulaypole as long as possible, of course, if it is safe for Ukrainian armed forces. Alright, this is kind of the interesting map I was capable to find. It shows what it could be next for Ukraine after Russia occupies Mirnograd and Pokrovsk. You can see the fence line. The main one is a little behind, not just a little, but maybe, I guess the distance here is roughly 7 kilometers, something like that, and here could be 10 kilometers, even more. So even if Russia occupies Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, still there are multiple of the defense lines. It doesn't matter that Russia will go and break through behind Ukrainian defense in some specific spot and will go forward for dozens of kilometers, not thousands, dozens, yeah, here. That's why from the defense perspective, occupation of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd doesn't matter that much compared to the previous Russian assault operation. Sorry, I'll take the red one. Previous Russian attack towards Zolty Kolodets, which is located in the northern area where Russia already crossed the Ukrainian main defense line. It was not equipped properly, and there was no enough Ukrainian armed forces because no one expected this breakthrough that happened in August. But now Russians were repelled luckily. And those defense lines are being reinforced. And if you check out the satellite image, let's go for it. Here is the Google image of the standard defense line. So there are several of the trenches. Here's a better look. So first anti-tank trench. Then there are some of the Dragon T's, the second anti-tank trench, and the third one occasionally. And after it, there is barbed wire or razor wire, it's also called. Yagoza, it is also the name of that wire that is used to protect the area against the Russian infantry. But sometimes there are gaps in those defense lines, simply roads, and Ukraine keeps them open for purpose because in case of the Russian attacks, they will choose specific directions which are open, and Ukraine may concentrate drone strikes to eliminate Russian forces. And let me show you one of those roads which Ukraine keeps open in different direction. As you might see, Russians try to use bad weather conditions, but oh my god. What happens there? Okay, those are the Russian motorcyclists. Well, it seems like the bad weather conditions and slippery roads played not a good game for them, yeah? I'm actually surprised that Ukrainian drone operators were capable to fly in those bad weather conditions and spot the enemy on the way. And you may understand what happened to those motorcycles. At first they stopped because they crashed, and later on they were crushed finally, yeah. The life expectancy for average Russian biker is just a few days. One more mishap happened to the Russian biker over here. His motorcycle just stuck because of lots of the fiber optic cables out there on the front lines. He fell down, he tried to pick up his motorcycle, but after all, everything is stuck here, maybe in a chain and in a wheel. Yeah, probably gonna move my image over here. That's the China-made motorcycle. So he stuck there for pretty much enough time for Ukrainian drone operators to react. Yeah, probably you might also understand what happened next. -1. And this is the very interesting video filmed by Russian drone operators. They show how Ukraine land the drones, lots of the drones on some of the roof closer to the Russian positions. Those drones are so-called holders. The idea for them is to check out the enemy and fly at once from the shorter distance to hit the target very precisely. Ukraine uses these tactics as well as Russians, but I have never seen so many drones at the same place. Holders might be stationary for extensive period of time, the battery is almost not depleting in this case. Also, enemy is unable to hear the drone flying till the very last moment. Alright, we have some of the drone videos. This is S-300V radar that was hit by Ukrainian drone unit from the military intelligence. We have one more probably. Yeah, again, this is radar RLS 1L125. Nyobi SV. I wonder what is this. Well, the antenna here is very big, so for sure it was hit. And one more like that, maybe the same one. Yeah, just to make sure that it's no go kaboom into antenna. There are lots of the drones like that flying, hitting Russian infrastructure, but then they fly at a very high speed. There is the Dutch roll. It's very hard to control direction. Nevertheless, most of the attempts they are successful. That's happened not in Crimea this time, but on occupied territory of Donbass. Alright, now to the other news. One more tanker of Russian Federation this time, actually a Russian one. Mitvolga 2 was hit yesterday in the Black Sea, roughly 60 miles away from the Turkish coast. You can see that definitely something went wrong out there. Russian crew reported about the strike coming from some sort of the flying object. The strike caused the fire that later on was eliminated and no crew was injured. But this is the distress that Russian ships are facing operating in the Black Sea. Here's the drone image of the tanker. Clearly, the fire was on top there. Yeah, this is the place where this vessel was hit. There was just a single drone strike, not as before. Well, Ukrainian officials reported that they have nothing to do with this particular strike. So before, with two of the tankers of the Russian shuttle fleet, the Ukrainian SBU even published videos of the drone boat operations, but here, nothing. It's not Ukraine. There is no confirmation or responsibility taken by officials. Maybe it's the new strategy, maybe not, but we also have the reports that the Turkish company whose tanker was damaged off the coast of Senegal has announced it will stop working with Russia. Very interesting. So they connect the strike on their ship near Senegal with their operations in Russia after all. So did Ukraine perform that operation near the coast of Senegal, which is Atlantic Ocean? Very, very, very interesting. But as you may see, at the same time, this pressure on Turkish company, it worked. By the way, yesterday Putin mentioned that Ukraine strikes some of the Russian oil in the Black Sea and that Russia should respond on that by hitting Ukrainian ports and some of the companies that operate in those ports. But just a couple of weeks ago, Russians hit the Turkish LNG ship in one of the ports very close to Romania. So they actually do it constantly, Russians. They also steal Ukrainian grains out from the occupied territories using commercial vessels, so those are legitimate targets for Ukraine. And we see that there is some sort of the escalation in the Black Sea, and maybe there is a variant that the trade will not be possible in that region at all. Alright, this is Taganrog, Russia, the Druzhba oil pipeline that was kaboomed once again. What is interesting about this one, that it wasn't a drone strike. Someone filmed this video from kind of the close perspective and was waiting for the pipeline to blast in the night skies. So it tells that it could be even a sabotage mission. Some of the device could be planted there, because this is kind of unusual video. Yeah, usually we see different picture from very far distance, filmed by locals who live in some of the cities, villages, but here it was done definitely for purpose. It gives the vibes of sabotage operations on some of the Russian airfields. I expect Orban and Fico to scream again because they love the Druzhba pipeline. An interesting case happened in Ukraine. SBU intelligence arrested a British soldier who was fighting for Ukrainian army. His name is Ross David Catmore. According to the information published, this individual was working for Russian intelligence. He had the military experience serving in Middle East for the British army. He helped to smuggle light weapons from Ukrainian army, which later on were used in assassinations against Ukrainian officials. Those big cases, for example, as Andriy Parubiy, who was the ex-spokesman of Ukrainian parliament and was flatlined in Lviv. Well, guys, again, I'm calling you to support my job on Patreon and also on membership. The link for my Patreon is in the video description right below, and the join button is here to join membership of this channel. Because of your support, I'm capable to film those videos every freaking day. Yeah, thank you so much for employing me for this job. If you don't have this opportunity, it's okay, just press like to this video and subscribe for the channel to propel this video in YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much for doing it as well. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.